Hi, I'm Dr. Antonio Graceffo, and welcome to China Economic Research, coming to you from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Today's episode, Beijing Exporting Censorship. In previous videos, I've discussed Beijing's repression of press freedom and academic freedom. In this video, I would like to talk about how China is exporting their censorship to the US and other foreign countries, while creating an army of spies within academia who steal secrets, commit IP theft, report on dissenters, commit espionage, and otherwise advance the programs and goals of the Chinese Communist Party. And sadly, many of them are US citizens. By now, most people have probably heard of the Confucius Institutes, which are funded by China and open on foreign university campuses, including in the United States. The stated goal of the Confucius Institute is to promote Chinese language and culture, support local Chinese teaching internationally, and facilitate cultural exchange. Wow, this all sounds great. And the other nice thing is, any university which agrees to host one of these institutes gets a nice big check of at least $100,000 from the Chinese Communist Party. There are roughly 100 Confucius Institutes in the United States alone. Although the institutes are officially politically neutral, a high-ranking member of the Politburo Standing Committee of the Chinese Communist Party told The Economist that the Confucius Institutes were an important part of China's overseas propaganda setup. Academics around the world have expressed concerns about allowing an institution which is directly controlled by the Communist Party of China onto the campus. Students of the Institute have reported being told that they were not permitted to discuss the three T's: Taiwan, Tiananmen Square, and Tibet. In other cases, Institute officials have coerced universities to cancel appearances by Taiwanese or Tibetan scholars. The Hanban Institute, the actual corporation which operates the Confucius Institutes, has a stated hiring policy that it will only hire people with no prior connection to the Falun Gong spiritual movement, which is banned in China. Of course, this violates U.S. laws of religious freedom and lawful hiring practices. The defense of this requirement, however, is that at many of the institutes, the actual employer is the Chinese government. So this creates a legal gray area where it is unclear if U.S. employment laws should affect the hiring decisions of the employees of a foreign government in America. My personal opinion is that we wouldn't even have to have this debate if we would just close all the Confucius Institutes. Confucius Institutes and their employees in both the U.S. and in Europe have been accused of or charged with improper influence over teaching and research, industrial and military espionage, surveillance of Chinese abroad, and undermining Taiwanese influence. There have been reports of the institutes keeping tabs on Chinese students who had come to America independently and had no connection to the institute or the Chinese government. In some instances, these students were told to spy or to steal intellectual property from labs they were working in, or to commit industrial espionage. Others were made to spy on the Chinese students who were engaged in pro-democracy or pro-Taiwan or pro-Tibet activities on foreign campuses. Just recently, a Chinese student studying in America was arrested when he returned to China for a tweet he had sent out while he was in America. And this is the kind of surveillance the Chinese government engages in, and the Confucius Institute gives them one more platform from which to launch. The FBI has opened numerous investigations into the Confucius Institute for economic espionage, industrial espionage, covert spying, and influence operations. Prominent U.S. universities such as Texas A&M, University of Chicago, and Pennsylvania State University have all closed their Confucius Institutes. In 2019, the U.S. government passed a law prohibiting universities hosting Confucius Institutes from receiving funding from the Department of Defense language program. After the law was passed, many additional U.S. universities closed their Confucius Institutes. Roger W. Robinson Jr., former Senior Director of International Economic Affairs on President Reagan's National Security Council, said that China has launched a campaign to be the world's leading superpower, citing China's well-known programs such as the Belt and Road Initiative and Made in China 2025 as proof. In order to achieve this goal, one of the areas China needs to master is technology. A significant reason for the U.S.-China trade war was forced technology transfer. The mandatory handing over of U.S. technology to Chinese joint venture partners as a requirement for doing business in China. Robinson identified the informal China lobby as a massive threat, citing the NBA, which self-censored to appease China. Gaming company Activision Blizzard suspended a professional player who stated support for the pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. American Airlines changed descriptions on its website so that it now shows Taiwan as part of the POC. In fact, all three of America's largest airlines, American, United, and Delta, have all given in to Beijing and stopped referring to Taiwan as a separate country. Apple removed a policy tracking app used by Hong Kong protesters, as well as a Taiwanese flag emoji, which has become a symbol of opposition to China. Coach made a similar apology for referencing Taiwan and China as separate countries. Cathay Pacific fired an employee on orders from China for liking a pro-Hong Kong democracy tweet. The list goes on and on. Companies all over the world have allowed themselves to be censored and bullied into changing their policies or apologizing for fear of being banned from the China market. Disney ESPN issued an internal memo prohibiting employees from referencing China politics. China's Civil Aviation Administration ordered Delta to change their website and list Tibet and Taiwan as part of China. Delta complied and issued an apology. After criticism on Chinese social media, Gap issued an apology for producing a t-shirt displaying a Chinese map which omitted Taiwan and South Tibet. They also removed the t-shirt from stores. Shanghai Cyber Administration ordered Marriott International to take down its website and blocked its mobile app because they had listed Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau as separate countries. Marriott complied, altered their website, and issued an apology. And I quote, "Marriott International respects China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We will absolutely not support any separatist organization that will undermine China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We apologize for any actions that led to misunderstandings in the aforementioned position."